About a year ago, I saved a screenshot of a really good comment I found on someone else's channel, and it has to do with idolizing leaders in business, your billionaires, your hundreds of millionaires. Basically, these CEOs in huge positions of power and how they influence pretty much everything. But the way that average, regular people admire them as if they have a chance at obtaining such a position, such a level of power. And I believe that it summarizes what my opinion is better than I could ever project it. So I thought I would share. Idolizing rich people is so insane. Class consciousness is something that is lost in this society. People think they are close to these millionaires and billionaires when they are much closer to the homeless person they pass by on the way to work or Starbucks. A lot needs to change before we can really free ourselves from the shackles of the capitalist society we experience today. We have to form real opposition to the oligarchical path America has been on. The wealth gap has only gotten bigger, quality of life has gone down, and the elites of our society continue to search for new ways to monetize every aspect of our lives. Electricity, water, housing, internet access, clean air, healthcare, and every other aspect of our lives has been and will continue to be restricted in artificial ways to extract more wealth from everyday people. All the while, Trump, Elon Musk, and his kin will continue to scapegoat minority communities to keep us divided. And I think that comment sincerely summarizes every aspect of this subject rather perfectly and clearly because, for instance, I can tell you, I personally can relate to the note of me being closer to being like the homeless person that I drive by on my way to work every single day. I look at it and I'm like, that is a very bad situation to be in. How do you rebound from that? How do you rebuild from that? Especially if they're an older person. You perceive older people as these people don't have time to start over. They don't have time to rebuild. And when I think about that and compare it to my own life, I see it as my path has been stagnant, but rather steady. I'm grateful that my life hasn't really changed in a way that I cannot predict. I can say that although my life resembles the same boredom, at least I cannot say that I have experienced things like food insecurity or shelter insecurity. And the times that I came close to being in a position resembling that, something happened to where I was freed up from that. And it happened in a way to where it felt like it fell from the sky. It's not like I had to, say, make a decision in which I have to perform things that maybe I didn't want to do, or I just felt pressured into doing something, or I was manipulated into doing something. Nothing like that. My character is one that, out of the many situations I have faced, that I'm like, okay, I should be pressured into submission. I just didn't, even if it meant advancing me to God knows what heights. I didn't have any trouble rejecting it. Another thing that strikes me about this comment is what I have been expressing this time, especially in more recent times, about how this is an oligarchical society. And I don't think that we have trouble accepting that. I think we have trouble with applying that into our real lives. We understand that this is a society that is run by rich people. We understand that. We know that. We accept that. I think we have trouble embracing that fact and having issues with it. Because I feel like we express ourselves like we're frustrated with that fact, but yet we continue to make decisions that perpetuate that status to continue. And I think that some folks have already so much resources, as some politicians describe it, too big to fail companies, that even if we were to collectively decide to stop spending money on them, I think they have artificial ways of continuing to make money, just like this country can print their own money. I feel like big companies have a way of being able to reinvest money into themselves to where they can produce money out of nothing pretty much. But I'm just saying that if at least we as people start turning our backs on them, I do believe in the power of ignoring something or someone to the point that you can eliminate it from existence, because a lot of these things have to survive from attention. You have to tend to it. You have to fund it, maintain it, show up for it. And if we start to do the opposite of that, we don't visit them, we don't spend money on them, we don't mention them, we don't show up to maintain places like that, then I think that they can collapse at some point. And another part of this is how the elites of our society continue to find ways to monetize everything. Like I have said before, I think it's disgusting that everything that ensures your survival in modern days is hidden behind a price tag. And sometimes I think that everything has to have a cost, not because you have to compensate people for that time that they spent ensuring that something is accessible, ready for consumption, ready for presentation, anything like that. Sometimes I think they don't like the idea that some of us would be able to get by through life indulging in very little. I would be fine with just being given food, shelter, and access to healthcare. That's it. I need nothing else. I don't need to be refreshing my wardrobe every single season. I don't need to be traveling. I don't need to be finding new experiences, new hiking spots, even though those are mostly accessible for free. I don't need to keep gathering stuff. But the economy as we have it now depends on you wanting stuff. And you are kept as a perpetual consumer. And if that is what you're used to being fed, any effort, any attempt to try to break from such a pattern, it feels daunting because it's no longer the thing that you're used to. I get it. It can be daunting to dive into something that you're not familiar with. It's the fear of the unknown. The fact that everything has a fee, and if you don't see the fee, it is a hidden fee that you find out after you have paid for something. You have to be requesting itemized receipts for everything. That's just gross. It's disgusting. And like I keep saying, I truly believe this is a society that's been built in bad faith. Or maybe it wasn't built entirely in bad faith, but bad faith has taken over. The note about restriction to me is pretty ironic to say, considering this being the country of freedom. And I do agree that those people on top really do scapegoat us, because when I think about their decisions to prefer AI for productivity over investing in workers, to me, that is the absolute textbook definition of having disregard for those who you think are beneath you and who you are ruling over. And I really think that isn't cured in any way. I don't think that these people at their age, I don't think they see a problem with their ways. That stage in their lives in which that could have been addressed to give them a hope or a chance at leading better lives in their older days. By better lives, I mean being better people, likable people, positive influences. I think that's over. They're on their way out. The saddest part for me is how those tactics they deploy work, because at our level, we are stressed, depressed, we're fighting each other, we're stealing from each other, we're hurting each other, and as opposed to slowing down and wondering, you know what is the origin of this issue? What is the origin of this problem? Who's actually to blame? It's not my neighbor's fault. It's not my fault. Where did this come from? You really don't have time to think like that, because you're more shocked by what you can immediately see, immediately hear, immediately perceive, immediately smell. And what better way to let it all out than with the people you can actually see, the people in your line of sight, the people within reach to you. And the other day I went to a place that on their counter, they had a sign that read something like, the person at the counter is somebody's loved one. And basically to be patient and not go off on them. They're trying to serve, they're trying to help, But if they cannot meet your exact needs, don't take it out on them. We have come to a point in our society where we need to put signage like that because the adult consumer has trouble controlling their emotions. And that's down here at floor level, at our level. Another place I've been to is a restaurant that had a sign that read something like, "You will be charged an extra $10 on top of whatever you're paying for your meal if we have to put up with your nasty attitude." And I said, this is a great business. I am willing to support them even more because they're trying to protect their workers. They're saying, hey, if you come at us with bullshit, we're going to charge you extra for putting up with you, and we're not going to punish our employee. We're not going to tolerate that. And like I have said before, and I will continue to say it, this is not the society, this is not the world I prepared for. This is not the world I grew up for. And I'm grateful for the people who are able to put this together, put thoughts like that together, put it into words. Because sometimes I feel like their words represent more of us than we give them credit for. But sometimes there are some truths that it takes a lot of maturity to accept. And I think that is the biggest challenge we face. Stop being easily offended by everything, accept that there's sad and disturbing and haunting and negative information out there, as opposed to being like, I don't want anything toxic or negative in my life. I avoid the bad news. I avoid this and that. Avoid. That avoidance is what's hindering your progress, hindering your growth. And then you go to other places and you wonder why you observe the decline in people's behavior. But remember, you were avoiding it. If you were avoiding it, your neighbor was avoiding it, your coworker was avoiding it, your teachers were avoiding it, everybody was avoiding it. Avoidance doesn't solve anything. Facing it does. So anyways, you guys, I thought I would drop that line here and hear what you guys think. I know where some of you lie on this topic, for we have talked about this before, but for any of you who are new visitors here and therefore you missed out on that era here on the channel, this is your opportunity to shine and let me know your thoughts. Of course, when you read something like that, you may be compelled into feeling like that is the superior thought, that is the righteous thing to read or say. It is debatable. It is possible that you can take what you just read, what you just heard me transmit to you, and object to it. And that's fine. In the same manner that it is fine for there to be people objecting to your objection. See what I mean? And sometimes I feel like one of the things we have to get over is how we try to fight each other over who has the better argument, who has the right point, who has the strongest persuasive opinion. And I think that's not even the point, because both sides can be right. Both sides have truth. The point is to find balance to where those two sides are not colliding to try to destroy each other. That is the part I object. You may indulge in a lifestyle that's different from mine and it works for you and it keeps you healthy. That's great. I support it. The only time I don't support it is if it collides with my world and somehow I'm supposed to resolve a problem that could be easily resolved, but you refuse to make the decision that solves it. That is my objection. Okay, that's it. Bye.